And I'll do the colonel. I think that's. And I'm like, no, he's not involved. Okay. So we're going You did. I did. Before you bet it. No, we only had this one. We had 26 feet of sand last year. We only had 15. That's a great. Yeah. Up to this. We used to have nothing. No sand. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So there's one she works in the medical field, you know, she'll be cool. So, and she works in the medical field, and she was getting medical. All last year. You'll be able to open that once you're fishing.
Call the meeting to order. Very few do the invocation for us.
Heavenly Father, your presence be here today. Guide us with your wisdom, Lord. Give us the right. Just give us the right answer that we need to hear, Father. Yes, so in the name of Jesus, Lord, our King and Savior. Amen.
If you would join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if you do roll call for Tracy.
Here.
Here.
Nola. Here. Christy.
Here.
Jeffrey.
Here.
Lee.
Here.
Renee. Here. Tracy here.
Next, we have approval of the agenda. If anyone wants to make a motion.
Make a motion to approve the minutes
Motion
on the agenda.
motion by Gary. Do we have support? Support by Nola. Any discussion among the board? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next, we have approval of past meeting minutes. There are 3, 2 for March 18th and 1 for March 13th. Do we have a motion to either pass the first one or to pass them together?
I'll make that motion to approve both of them together.
So there's 3.
All three.
Motion by Gary to approve all 3. Support by Nola. Any discussion among the board? And none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have the treasurer's reports. Any questions from the board on the treasurer's report? We will sign
Very
it.
interesting.
Yes. Good insight. Thank you. Keep it up. Next, we have paying bills. If anyone wants to make a motion to pay the bills.
Make a motion to pay the bills.
Motion by Renee, support by Carrie. Any discussion among the board?
I do got one question.
Yeah.
I just do it just because of my lack of knowledge and understanding.
For sure.
February 2023 pickup, 3 containers at $160 per contract. 480 is what that comes to, but it shows 528. And then March, same thing, 160 per contract, 3 containers, 516. Why is there, like if it's 160 per container, why is it more than
They have fuel surcharges that they add on there too.
surcharges?
Fuel surcharge.
Fuel surcharges they add.
Mhm.
So it's not really a contract?
No, I mean, yes and no.
I mean, it's a service, but the fuel surcharges could be in the
Okay.
contract even if there was one.
Okay. I just wanted to know that.
Yeah,
Thank
that's a
you.
good question.
Good catch.
That's for trucks picking things up at the transfer station.
Okay, it's at the transfer, okay.
Yep.
Right. That was it.
Anything else? All right, roll call vote.
Renee.
Yes, ma'am.
Carrie.
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Nola.
Yes.
Tracy, yes. Christy.
Yes.
Jeffrey.
Yes. Motion passes. Next, we have the fire department report. Who would chief?
Submitted my report, little decrease in calls, obviously, we've all seen with the changeover by the Medical Patrol Authority. Other than that, it's been going well. We're all ready for the spring season. have nothing else. Thank you.
Next, we have a planning commission report, if you would leave.
There's two things in the March 28th meeting, public hearing for ordinance 2023-05 for the pond, sand, and gravel mining excavation. There's just a public hearing, then board discussion, just found one typo, and motion for board approval. The second item was a site plan review for Stanhope Construction. Review of plans for new office and storage buildings on the property on Holton and 120, motion approved.
Thank you. Next, we have the zoning board of appeals meeting report, if you would.
Okay. ZBA 23-01, 1127 Pine Avenue. Owners were present with neighbors supporting. There were questions on the setback of the build site. The setbacks are in line with their neighbors on either side the variance passed. Under old business is ZBA 22-06, 2505 Hall Road. The owner wasn't present at the original meeting, so we could ask questions to get a clear understanding of the need for the variance, and the variance did pass. Craig Monet remains our chair, Nick Coonan, vice chair, David Glick as the secretary. There was no public comment. The meeting adjourned at 7:25 p.m.
Thank you. Next, we have the maintenance and grounds report, if you would, Nate.
Started a new employee today, have another one coming May 15th, just the seasonal guys. Spring's finally here, so there's a lot of stuff that we gotta do, fixing fences, plow damage, cleaning the bike trail, driveways, etc. Picked up a new mower today, it's pretty cool. Yeah. My son was born last month, he came a month early, but now that the leaves is out of the way, we'll be able to tackle all my projects, and I want to say a big thank you to the township for understanding and helping with all that. It's gone a long way and we appreciate it.
Congratulations. Yes.
Next, we have our first public comment on agenda items, 3 minutes if you would. And so there's only one thing on here that's going to be a hearing, and that is the McCabe FOIA appeal. It's a different one than the last few months. And that'll be a hearing. Everything else is not a hearing, including both resolutions for Central Road, because we had the hearings for resolution number 2 a few months ago now. And there's one on resolution number 4. So if these were to pass, it would be another hearing. But as of now, resolution number 2, that hearing's already occurred. So if you want to speak on Central Road, then speak at this first public comment. I mean, you can speak at the second one too, but the voting will be over at that point. So does anyone have any public comment on anything? Yeah, if you would come up to the lectern first.
Anything
Anything on the-
Anything on the agenda. We have brining, we have a land sale, we have senior millage, we have bike trail, McCabe, Central, and Central.
Come on.
Okay, hold on, Stan, always me. Okay, more finally, a loudmouth on Central Road. The start of this mess. We had a misunderstanding the last time. Some things weren't true, factual. Is it a financial burden to us all? Shoot that.
Yeah.
It's almost 10 grand. But you know, the school bus we refused to go down the road more than once. And so I'm thinking, no one's gonna fix the road with us. And I just can't see our children, our mothers taking the kids to the end of the road. And this is not the first time this has happened. This has happened more than once. And I'm saying we got 80% of the vote right now. Just let democracy work. Give us a chance. You know, so thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else on anything?
Michael Bennett, Central. The only thing I would say is, I think we have a fair representation of Central Road here tonight. Not that I recognize or know everybody, but I guess last month, I think the issue was that we had some that were not happy with it and got their voices heard. And I think that was influential on some of the board. So what I would ask, if you're willing, is for each person that's here that lives on Central Road to stand up and basically say where you stand on the issue. You know, whether it be yes, no, or I don't care, you know. And for me, I'm a yes. You know, it is going to be a financial burden on me, you know. It's like with anybody, but I'm a yes. So I guess that's what I would ask, is that if those that are here would be willing to at least say where you stand on it, then that gives you guys a little better opportunity to make a fair judgment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, everybody knows where I stand on this thing.
We're the Vices at the corner of Bard and Central, 222 West Bard. We are against it, but we fully expected it to be passed last meeting, and if it passes, that's fine. I mean, that's how democracy works.
Thank you. Thank you. Good. Anyone else? Anything else? All right, we'll move on to our decision items. The first one is the County Road Commission brining contract. And so it was the one that we see every year. There are two parts on here that get marked. The one is the normal, that are the roads that we do. And the other is the optional, which are the ones that we have special assessments on a few private roads. So it only makes sense for us to mark that as well. Otherwise, what are we doing with that money? And the one oddity, if you look through the entire list, the one oddity that you'll see is not having Michelinda on there. Now, there's 5 different sections of Michelinda, and each single one of them is a different type of problem. But it's the one between Staple and 120, and then on the other side of 120, because the road commission is doing an experiment with Permazyme to hold that down better, hopefully year long. It's in the middle of the experiment now. It's similar to the lift tank. I watched a few hours on that. That seems better.
Yeah.
But right now they're doing an experiment on it that'll hopefully replace the brining is the idea. That's why it's not on the list.
I make a motion to approve the regular and optional brine contract on Muskegon County Road Commission for 2023.
Support.
Motion by Terry, support by Tracy. Any other comments among the board? Roll call vote.
Carrie,
Yes.
Tracy, yes. Nola,
Yes.
Christie,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Renee,
Yes, ma'am.
Jeffrey.
Yes. Motion passes. Next, we have the land sale proposal on Calumet Forest Park. This is the second step. And so we came up with having the realtor comparables and the true cash value. And this is why I wanted the true cash value at least, because the comparables, the way the computer kicks them out for a realtor, can come out significantly different when someone is being taxed. So we have a huge spread here.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's for the board to decide on, but the true cash value for both properties in the system right now is $400. And the comparables that the realtor system came out with is $4,800. And both these are 0.12 acres. I mean, they're small, they wouldn't be buildable except for the person next to them. So why exactly it would be that much, I would be a little confused about, but nevertheless.
It's like one question for you. So too, like this was in here too, like what was this 16,000 thing in there too, which I think that's
So
pretty absurd, but is
Yes.
that because of the, does this have the third piece of property too that we got taken off last month? Is that what it was?
originally, there was the
Yeah.
third piece of property. This should just be for the two. So I included in the reference packet, which I include in the email and it's on Unicode, but I don't print them all out. It has every piece of property that it compared in here.
Yeah, I looked at that too. I just
Okay.
seemed just kind of confusing why it was at 4,800 here on our sheet and in here it's at 15. I don't see where that number came from.
Well, and I think, so
I think it's.
they're saying the
outrageous anyway.
15 and then they adjusted it down because it's a smaller land mass, because you get to the 48. So, and it does say in the comparables from the realtor, it's 0.24 acres.
Yeah.
So it is comparing the right amount of
Yeah,
land.
it's only 4 acres.
So there's a person that petitioned to purchase it and
Correct.
got property adjoining it?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. It's right here.
And it's just to the west of it. Do we have any motions?
Make a motion to put the parcel on Calumet Forest Park up for bid for a minimum of $800 for both.
We have a motion for $800 for both pieces of land. Do we have a second? Support. Support by Carrie. Any discussion among the board?
It's really high. I don't understand.
It's high.
Yeah, well, I'm just wondering where you came up with that.
What I came up with that is, I'm sure that 400 is the true cash value, that's half of, yep, so that was double that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's the true cash value for both.
True cash.
I checked with the
value.
assessor. Yep.
So $800.
And it's the true cash value, it's not the SEV.
Oh.
Yeah, she's already put down 1,030.
You know what? Oh my goodness.
That's how much it costs
Yeah.
to start this, 1,030.
Oh. I changed my motion. I want to keep it at 400.
Okay, so you're making,
Yep, 400.
well, it depends if the support
If I get
agrees.
a support.
So, because you're withdrawing your previous
I'm
motion, you're making the
withdrawing the
motion, to put it up
previous.
for bid for $400.
Yes, sir.
Where's the support on that?
Mm-mm.
You would like to stick with 800?
Yeah.
All right, are you making the motion for 800
I'll
then?
make the motion.
All right, so we have two motions on the floor. We will go in order of the motion, so we'll go to 800 first and then the 400, if we have a second on either. Do we have the support for either one of the motions?
I'll support the 800.
All right, we have a support for the 800. Let's go ahead and do, is there any discussion on that before we vote? I'm gonna call.
So that's one thing.
Yep.
So she already paid thousands of
Yep.
dollars. So we're gonna have to refund her some money then?
Yeah, we would
Correct.
if she didn't.
Now, part of that goes out for sending out notices and
Mhm.
publications, right? But then that goes towards the closing. Other money. Good. Anything else? All right, I'm gonna call for a roll call vote on the 800.
Carrie,
Yes.
Tracy, yes. Lee,
No.
Renee,
Yes.
Christie,
Yes.
Nola,
No.
Jeffrey.
No. Motion passes. Is that correctly?
Yep.
All right, so it's $800. Which is still fixed. Next, we have the senior wage money allocation. And so Tracy, I believe, was able to get the paperwork originally came in line, but we had them correct it, about the amount of money. And so we were allocated $28,732. Because we'd approved the snow plowing before, we've been given $15,400. That's just recent.
Yeah.
And that leaves the balance of $13,332. If we want to allocate it, then we'll get it as long as Sierra approves us.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
Because there's extra money left over, and last year, I remember we put the money towards protection of the seniors.
Correct. Yep.
Is it possible to have where the plows came in and they really pushed a lot of dirt out of the driveway, thereby creating ponds in the driveway? Is it possible to put that money back towards repairing the driveway?
It probably would be.
That would be so cool to do
I
that.
believe it's probably true. Would you approve that, Kim?
I'd have to know more facts of it.
Sure.
Well, I just know that a lot of rock and dirt was plowed off the driveway.
Whose driver are we talking about?
Just one person.
One person that I know of,
It happens with everyone.
but that's what I've heard. And it's like these plowmen, all they gotta do is raise their plows just a little bit more and they won't destroy.
It's
Here, it's the same
It's
way.
It happens everywhere.
Big ditch now.
But that's just it. And it's like now when it rains, we've got like a major pond in the driveway that wasn't there prior. Yet the snow plowing it's needed. It's a necessary thing. But I don't see why if there's not, obviously there's not too many driveways involved because there's all this extra money left over. So why can't we put that money to repair damage that's being done by the plowman? That's fair.
I mean, the senior village is decently open. I haven't heard of someone specifically doing that.
Pretty liberal with that.
And-
If you pretty much decide what you, and if it relates to a senior that needs it.
Mhm.
I've had inquiries about, like gift cards for seniors for like the farmer's market.
Yeah,
or
my
things like
aunt,
that.
my aunt's got a $25 gift card. She hasn't even used it. Since her first $25 gift card. Yeah, that's,
$13,000 is a lot of gift card.
Oh, yeah. I was just putting it out there, what was,
Yes.
or what was asked of
Log-
you.
Logistically, the senior millage has been clunky, let's put it, as far as administration goes. And so the different municipalities have been trying to figure out what to do, and there's been a wide variety. So,
I think to be fair, I don't think any damage did on, if there was any damage done to some of these people's driveways or properties, it would be fair that they would repair those damages.
my guess is that's not going to use 13,000.
No, it won't.
And so if a motion was made in that direction, I think it would make sense to probably have the motion include something else. What happens beyond that?
Gift cards.
And probably,
Whatever.
I would not like to do the gift cards. They're a logistical mess. So kind of a disaster. The village has done them. And you lose a bunch of money in the processing, and then someone has to go out and start knocking on doors to try to get rid of the gift cards. And so it doesn't necessarily work great.
Just a minute, since we're on this subject, I probably should have said this earlier, but did you support the Safe Seniors at all? I'm just curious, I thought I heard.
We did last year. Yep.
I think I got a report, I don't have it with me tonight, I left it somewhere, I can't find it. But they're from, briefly from 2018, the end of 2018 till present, there's been like 497 cases that have been worked on for Safe Seniors. And the biggest one on there, which was like, I don't know, 75-80% was financial issues where seniors are getting billed for money.
Identity theft, things like that.
And a lot of times it happens to be family members, but they've actually recovered 4 seniors that have gone through that over the course of this program, $1.8 million. So that's money back into seniors' pockets, and it's a very worthy cause. Just a comment.
Yeah, that's what I proposed was the snow plowing and then the safe seniors, but repairing the lawns, I don't think would be too much either.
But yeah, that's, how
That's my
about,
guess.
how about if we do the repairing of the drive and then what's left over goes to the safe senior?
I like that.
I like
Yes.
That's fair.
I would just say maybe just allocate like a couple, I can't imagine it, but I was just saying I'll do it if you just put it on my list.
Okay.
And if it's okay with it, I can go over there and have my guys whip it up real quick. It shouldn't cost much.
Okay,
If I'm
okay.
looking, you know, just moving materials.
right. Yeah, the one is definitely a big pile and that one's on the side of it.
You can practice because there's a lot of it going on here, so that's the plan.
Okay,
Good.
so how do
Are you making a
we?
motion on it?
How do we get into a
To
motion
get
then?
with the guy from Word and see if there are any others.
Yeah.
I think that'll probably work. So I would make the motion like, I make the motion to approve allocating the remaining amount from the senior millage money to repairing driveways that have been plowed previously with the senior millage money. And after that, to move those funds into the Safe Seniors program through age well service.
I second that.
All right.
Can we do it that way?
Yeah.
Okay,
Motion by me,
Perfect.
support by Renee. Any discussion among the board?
thank you.
Hearing none, roll call vote.
Jeffrey,
Yes.
Renee,
Absolutely.
Christie,
Yes.
Nola,
Yes.
Harry,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Tracy, yes.
Motion passes. Next, we have the bike trail maintenance money. And so we had seen this last September for an ARPA fund resolution. And there's multiple municipalities out here. It is us, North Muskegon, Laketon, Muskegon, Charter, and Fruitland. It goes through all of those except for Laketon. That's an old political thing, why they're on that board. Based on my estimates, I come up with prorating the money out if we use $40,000 in the bike trail maintenance fund. It appears that it's not going to be enough money in the future, in the long term, to do the repaving. And so I had broken that amount up, estimated that we would have to cover an additional $26,000. We'd approve that from the ARPA fund. Now, this is G asphalt, so it's a different type of material than a seal coat or a fog coat, because everyone on that board is in agreement that a seal coat wouldn't be worth it. It mostly makes the asphalt look a little shinier, but it really doesn't hold together better. This material is supposed to hold it together better. I think that if one of the municipalities doesn't do it, we probably just won't do it entirely as that commission. And although, I mean, it could be a good test run, that's true. But nevertheless, because you have the $40,000 from the funds, it's being split up among the municipalities as of now. So when I prorated out based on this quote, the current quote from this year, it comes to 29,000, a little over. So I wrote up this resolution to adjust it to 30,000 if we want to do that. Or we might try.
I like that part too.
Yeah, no one's against taking good care of the bike trail. The difficulty is how to actually do it
Right.
with the funds that are available or that the groups are contributing, and the best idea for the long term. My initial thought when I was on the commission was to just leave the money alone, let it pile up over time. But I was advised by people from the DNR that manage trails around the state and stuff that it's not going to be enough money to actually do the repaving when they would like to. And it's not even going to be close. And that we should look at something to extend the life now.
What about that company that?
And the lift tech, the issue with that is, so I watched a few hours on lift tech. It's a new technology for roads and it looks pretty good. And I sent it to the head of maintenance and the head engineer and one of the road commissioners. And so they're looking at it. And the way it's way cheaper than a paving is because they do this lithification to create a stronger layer. And then directly on top of that, they do a chip seal. And that could work really good for roads because it's more expensive than a gravel upgrade, but quite a bit cheaper than a full paving. That seems to, and they've had some in place for over 6 years, it seems to hold up as well as pavement.
Right.
It's not a good idea to do a chip seal on a bike path.
True that.
Right. Otherwise, we would have done a chip seal
You're right.
if there were cars.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I make a motion to approve the ARPA resolution concerning bike trail maintenance.
I'll support that.
Motion by Carrie, support by Noah. Any discussion on the board?
The numbers don't add up? 122.7 is my number.
Correct. So on this, I built in assumptions. And so everyone can see the proposal from G Asphalt, and then everyone can see my prorated amounts. Right? And I did the math in Excel. And if all of the municipalities do the project together, it reduces the mobilization fees by half. If we do them individually, each mobilization fee is the regular amount, which is on here. So I did that, and I took off the $40,000 prorated to each municipality based on the amount of square yardage that goes through their municipality.
What was the amount for that?
30,000, I've written,
Oh, the 29.
right, so yes, it's a little over 29,000. In the resolution, I put $30,000 from our.
Okay.
Good, a motion support, anything else? Roll call vote.
Carrie,
Yes.
Noah,
Yes.
Tracy, yes, Lee.
Yeah.
Renee,
Yes.
Christie,
Yes.
Jeffrey.
Yes. Motion passes. Next, we have the McCabe FOIA appeal. There's another one, so it's coming up again, not the same one as the third one we've had now. And basically just flooding Tracy with FOIA requests and the messages made almost every day and a bunch of other people in the township. With this one in particular, and Tracy would know more of the details, they went back and forth several times. It is about a demo permit. And she had sent it to him, but she printed it out of the system, so it didn't have the stamps that the treasurer had actually received it.
Yeah,
So
it's like this.
he wanted that, and she had sent that to him, and then he wanted one certified by her to write on the front of it as well. And I think that was the one you were getting to him, right? Which now you have it to him. It's the same information from the same permit.
Right. Right, yeah. And then he questioned that because the certified one, we redacted some things.
I'd asked the lawyer by that point if the woman's phone number that was on there, if that should be removed. I was talking to him about this, and I did write the motion, even though it's long, the lawyer didn't write it. And he said, yes, we should redact the phone number, and then Steve had caught that there was a check number on there too.
Yeah.
So,
So, yeah.
I make the motion to find that Kevin McCabe is filing FOIA requests in bad faith for harassment purposes of both the township and residents willfully and intentionally misrepresenting that he has received information from the township on his requests, both in general and concerning this specific request.
perfect. I appreciate that, but I almost did miss a thing, and we certainly want to
What's
cross
that
our
thing?
T's and dot our I's, is opening the hearing.
We open that
So,
here.
hold
I'm gonna open a hearing.
Sorry.
So the lawyer had said on this too, that the board has discretion to not see these in the future because McCabe is filing so many of them and there's no real grounding. But I also don't want to start having it at my discretion to knock down appeals too. So I don't want to start that pattern. I mean, I guess if it gets crazier, maybe we'll look at a motion by the board, all right? But if anyone would like to speak on the FOIA appeal hearing, please come up and let us know what you think.
Richard Random, White Lake Drive. Do we charge for time spent researching these things, copy fees?
There's a policy. And so you have to go over a certain amount. And on a single individual item, that's 30 minutes. A lot of these are fairly short. I put a ton of time into McCabe before, talking on the phone and generating reports. I generated reports over 16,000 pages for him before. When I thought that he was acting in good faith, and then in their public records, but then he used those to try to go out and get people and report them and all this type of stuff. So I was on a shared drive on Google Drive, all public information, but I ended up giving him the link so he can go out from individual if he wants. And so like this one didn't take Tracy very long on each individual one, even though he's requesting the same thing over and over. Because he's requested so many, I do believe it's in the policy that Tracy can start doing something based on that.
I'd like to see that.
Recently. Good. Anything else on the FOIA request, the appeal from McCabe? All right, we will close the hearing of the comment section. We did have a motion. Are you sticking with that same motion? No.
That same motion.
Support is still the same. Any other comments from the board?
Enough's enough.
Hearing none, roll call vote.
Nola,
Yes.
Carrie,
Yes.
Tracy, yes. Jeffrey,
Yes.
Christie,
Yes.
Renee,
Yes, ma'am.
Lee.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next, we have Central Road, this is resolution number 2. Again, this is the one that we held the hearing on previously. After the meeting before, I did not think it could come back because we had had a hearing, like the special hearings, and then we had had a vote. But after the meeting, several people had asked me to double check with the lawyer, and I said that I would, and the lawyer said that it can be brought back. And so it's a number of other people had called and inquired into it as well. And so that's why we're seeing it back now. We had the one objection, Cole Grove, in the last meeting. I had not included that in the packet before because we're in the meeting when that happened. So it's in this one. And then we have one objection from Schuler as well, and that one's new. So a total of 4 written objections to the project. I have updated all of the dates in here. If this one passes, we'll move on to the next one immediately. And then if that one were to pass, that sets up a hearing for next month, the final hearing, the final resolution. The road commission is still on alert that the process has happened currently.
Just to reiterate, what was the percentage of support for this, of those that live on Central Road?
So there's 4 written objections, there's 20 owners, 24 parcels. I believe all those numbers are correct. All the information is in here if anyone wants to check it. I read through it today, but these I've read a few times, so I just scanned it today. Normally I read through the entire packet, but maybe just the scanning would work.
80%.
I'll make a motion to approve the second resolution of the Central Road paving project.
Support. I'm gonna go with Tracy for the motion, support by Carrie. Do we have any discussion among the board? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Tracy, yes. Carrie,
Yes.
Renee,
Yes, ma'am.
Nola,
Yes.
Christie,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Jeffrey.
Yes. Motion passes. All right, so I report to the board that this passed, and I'll give this to Tracy. Next, we have Central Road Resolution number 3. And this one essentially sets up the 4th hearing. I know it's a long process. Start with the petition, then first resolution, second resolution with a hearing, third resolution, 4th resolution with a hearing. All right? So the primary thing here is to set up a hearing for next.
I make a motion to approve the 3rd resolution for the Central Road paving project.
Motion by Carrie, support by Nola. Any discussion among the board? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Carrie,
Yes.
Nola,
Yes.
Renee,
Yes, ma'am.
Tracy, yes. Lee,
Yes.
Christie,
Yes.
Jeffrey.
Yes. Motion passes. Next, we move on to our discussion items. So the first and only discussion item is accessory dwelling units. So I've had this on my list for a while to bring up. I haven't gotten around to it yet because I don't want to push too much stuff at once to the planning commission. I don't want to push too much stuff through Steve as well, right? Kind of keep a pace going. Someone had inquired into it recently about doing variance. And it's possible. It's hard to say what happens in the zoning board of appeals. That's why the votes happen. And I don't really think it should go through. And I don't think he's gonna go that direction. He's more gonna wait on this. I mean, even if everyone agrees, it takes quite a while, and I don't think everyone's going to agree. But the accessory dwelling unit is essentially so you can have more than one residence on a parcel. So a lot of times this is used for relatives, and a lot of times this is used for rental. And the relatives, I doubt would be too controversial, maybe some, the rental is more controversial. So that's essentially what these are.
I
Any
like it.
thoughts?
I like the idea of it. Personally, I do.
Yeah, is it up? 'Cause right now, we have people that do have property and then they can't put another structure for building, property for renting, so to speak. Like we live by people that have, actually our neighbor, they have their house and right next door they have their rental. So it's like, they own both but have the, it's just one of those things, you know what I'm saying? So I think it would be a good thing to have.
There's a lot of discussions happening in the housing market right now because it's been, tight and high for a number of years. And I mean, there's different reasons for that in the financial world, but also in the legal world. We can't change like bank policies and stuff like that, obviously. But we can adjust some ordinances. This would be one of the types that we could do to relieve that. I go to some meetings with other governments, other municipalities and the county about housing. And we're planning on doing surveys and going for grants and those types of things. And that's how our society solves a lot of those problems. I think this type of approach is a little more
Yeah,
what I like.
loosen it up some,
Like tiny homes, things like that.
Yeah, I'd like to tackle tiny homes too. And so they probably could get approved as like a special use or a planned unit development or something like that. And then essentially you can just reduce the minimum square footage. But these are highly controversial things in the housing market. So good. Anything else?
No.
All right, we'll move on to our second public/board comment. If anyone has any comment on anything, please come on up, Mr. Steer.
Dear County Commissioner of District 1. The County Commission is looking at setting up a new Parks and Recreation Commission. Right now, we have one department head that's kind of in charge of all of our county parks. And a lot of things kind of slipping through the cracks, I think. So some of the responsibilities would be to set up a 5-year plan for Parks and Rec, strategic planning, Parks and Trail project prioritization, grant application prioritization, volunteer and staff development, trail maintenance, trailhead development, among other things. But I think it's probably a pretty good idea because right now we're kind of just putting out fires, and we've got a lot of maintenance issues at the parks that aren't really getting handled properly. I don't believe, and I think it's just because we don't really have enough oversight in that area. So we got one guy doing it, and he's kind of stretched.
There are a lot of grants out there that.
Yes, there are.
Grants out there that.
You need somebody that's got the time to work on.
Is that Lukens?
He's a great guy, but
He does seem stretched. Yeah, when I've asked him for information, he's always gotten it to me, but there's a delay because he's working on a lot of other stuff.
that's a problem. So that I think it's a good idea, and I think that's the direction that we're going in. So I don't know how long it'll take to get her done, but we'll see.
Can I ask you a question?
This question and
Do
answer.
you want to have, if you want to come up and make a comment about that, let's do it that way. Rather than just breaking this.
Very
It's just a simple question.
All right.
You anything else?
Just a simple one.
Al Richards, State Road. Where do you stand on charging people to launch their boat and park at the Opals?
Idea, never heard of it, so.
Really?
No.
You've never heard of a charge?
Yeah, I can talk to you.
A charge for parking at the Opals? No, seriously.
That's city of
Yeah,
Muskegon.
seriously, I'll talk to you.
That's not state
Not-
content.
But it doesn't matter. I'm just asking you where you stand.
With a question and answer.
Right. Because that's the agenda.
It doesn't-
I'll talk to you outside.
I mean, all those things will get big and complex. We're working on lake stuff, so we're gonna do some experiments on the 4 ranks that we have and see if we can make it better. So we'll start with one, not the Twin Lake one, because it's county. So, but good. Any other public comments? Anything? Yeah.
I actually have a question. You talked earlier on the trail system about a new paving thing.
Like a lift tech.
Yeah.
And so lithtec.com. And so Nola had found it through someone you know. And I looked into it. I passed information along to the road commission. I hope that they will soon do an experiment on it, just like they're doing Permazyme on.
I just was gonna suggest Central Road would be a good experiment.
No.
And the issue with it is we have to
You
give,
said it's cheaper, right?
it's supposed to be.
Doesn't last as long, though, buddy.
No, it's supposed to last as long. Now, it really started in the Navajo Nation, and then, but it's expanding out from there. But it's like Permazyme, I think it's been mostly tested in the Southwest United States. And that Permazyme on Michelinda, I mean, it seems to be holding together to some extent, but I think the freezing and thawing is being hard on it, so it's not holding up as well somewhere you don't have all that freezing and thawing. And I mean, I'm not a road engineer. I've learned a lot more about it. I've read several white papers in the last few years. But I think it's worthy of an experiment. For the Central Road one, we would probably have to go back because they have to send out a geological team because they put the lift tech together, sample everything, have them re-quote it, have them get approvals. They're working on DOT approval in Michigan right now. And so if the road commission approved that, I think they would be doing it without state approval. And I don't know how messy that is. So I'm guessing it will be, hopefully it's an experiment on some road next year.
Smart.
And I think that's as soon as an experiment will probably happen, if one happens, it's still the road commission. And the reason they can do it for so much less is because they use lithification and it solidifies the base material a lot harder. And then they don't put asphalt directly over the top. You can, and you can put less asphalt if you're doing like a highway, something like that. But a lot of places that aren't highways, they actually do a double chip seal. And then their claim is that it holds up better than the asphalt. For it's quite a bit more than upgrading a gravel road, but quite a bit cheaper than paving. So it falls in that area.
Is that what they did on Michelinda last year?
No, the section on Michelinda, that's a different material. That's called Permazyme. And the idea with that was to experiment to see if we could replace brining. It's more expensive. And so it would have to last through the winters for probably about 3 years for it to make sense. But obviously, the brining only lasts for a short period of time. It depends on the clay content, depends on the shade on your road, it depends on a bunch of things. But it lasts for a fairly short time. Also, brining's not cheap for this very temporary thing. This first one, we split it with the county, and that's 27,000. I had them look into if the township has ever done 2 in a year, and they didn't find it in the last 10 years. And I found where they had moved away from the county, the township had, back in, and I wrote it in some of the stuff, I think it was 2011. Yeah, you were here. And then there were complaints that rolled in. Eventually, 2 years later, they went back to the county because it didn't work as good. But Permazyme is supposed to be more permanent. I'm just not sure if the experiment is really holding up on Michelinda.
This one's not working.
It's pretty dusty right now when
Right. It gets choppy.
right in the middle.
It makes the material stronger, but it doesn't seem to make it strong enough to not develop the choppiness, the chatter bumps. And then you just have stronger chatter bumps. So my guess is the road commission will probably consider that a failed experiment like next year. That's a guess. So, on to other experiments. They're always experimenting on something. They have a lab where they make pucks and they see the crush amount and stuff like that. Yeah, because it worked out well. Then we could have basically better brining year round. Would have been great. It did not. Oh, as far as I know, as of now. Good. Anything else on anything else? Anything from the board?
Motion to adjourn.
All right, do we support?
Second.
Any discussion among the boards? None, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Adjourned.
Is that the shortest meeting?